Here's a name that you already know, Dire Straits.
Oh, the Dire Straits, like Brothers in Arms?
Yes, well said, the Dire Straits.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I get to listen to yet another classic, and it's been one that I have been looking forward to for quite some time. It is yet another Dire Straits piece of music, and I remember my first experience with Dire Straits kind of near the beginning of my rock journey when I listened to Brothers in Arms, and I remember the enjoyment and the beauty that I discovered in that piece of music with Mark Knopfler's voice, and, or I should say, voices, because, well, if you listen to my first listen here and the in depth here, you will hear how I experienced his guitar as another one of his voices, as if they are both on equal footing and both incredibly expressive. I really enjoyed that, and in fact, that song has made it to my list of all-time top favorites from this journey. So that was very enjoyable. I still deeply enjoy that song. And now finally, I'm coming back to Dire Straits again, and I get to listen to another one of theirs, which is Telegraph Road. And I've seen those of you who comment on my channel, recommend this multiple times. It's been on my list of things to listen to for quite some time, and I'm very happy to be finally sitting down to take the time and get into it. Well, before I do the actual listen, as usual, Vlad has prepared a little paragraph or two of things that I should know about it ahead of time. So let me just read this and tell you, as I am learning, what it is. Knopfler was inspired to write Telegraph Road, the album's 14-minute centerpiece. Okay, so this one's going to be kind of long. After Dire Straits' tour bus drove for miles along Telegraph Road in Detroit. He said, "I was reading a book at the time called The Growth of the Soil, and I just put the two together. It's the same road, and it just went on and on and on forever. It's like what they call linear development. And I just started to think. I wondered how that road must have been when it started, what it must have first been. I was actually sitting in the front of the tour bus at the time." Then in a contemporary review for Rolling Stone magazine, David Fricke praised the album's centerpiece, Telegraph Road, which he characterized as a challenge to the average pop fan's attention span. I like that. With its historic sweep and intimate tension. That sounds promising. The theme of the building of America and the dashing of one man's dreams enable Knopfler to deploy a variety of surprising instrumental voices, from the synthesized sunrise whistle at the beginning to the Baroque piano motif in the middle. Fricke concluded that in a period when most pop music is conceived purely as a product, Love Over Gold, I guess that's the album's name, okay, dares to put art before airplay. Well, those are some pretty enticing comments for me, because it sounds like the kind of music that I will enjoy and be able to dig into. I guess I have some expectation of enjoyment here. I don't think I'll be disappointed, since I enjoyed Brothers in Arms so much. So let's dive in and see. This comment about Baroque piano has me curious. Who knows what else we'll discover along the way. I hated to stop it. But I love the way it started already. I like the wide expanse that is being portrayed through the range of pitches. And it's very sparse at first. We just hear a high note, a low note, and then this beautiful melody which really sounds like a traditional folk tune type melody that is singable and memorable and has that lilt and lyricism. And it sounds kind of like it's being played on a glass harmonica. You know, I actually had, growing up, I had a recording of Celtic folk songs recorded with violin and glass harmonica on a CD. And oh, it's been years since I listened to it. I had forgotten about that, but suddenly this brought that memory back, and now I want to go see if I can dig up what that recording was and who did it, and maybe I'll see if I can come up with the info and maybe even share it with you, because if you like this opening, you would probably enjoy that one too. All right, let's go on back up just a little bit. This is absolutely beautiful in the opening. I like the way the guitar enters and then the piano. Interesting. Such an evocative opening. And now as it shifts a bit, even as we were settling into this rhythm, very lightly tapped out, with the piano providing some rhythmic and harmonic grounding, that little da-da-da-da, almost like a woodpecker. It was just that little addition of sound added to the whole atmosphere. Whereas without it, it would have been okay, but with that little added element, it suddenly keeps it from settling into just a kind of mindless meditative groove. This is more keeping us alert and listening.
Time ago, came a man on a track.
And finally the voice enters. That's the word that's coming to mind is evocative. I feel like I am entering a world, like not just entering a world, but like a whole scene is being laid out in front of me. As a film score composer would like their music to portray and enhance and create a vision in the listener's ears? Well, of course, when you're composing a film score, there is a visual aid, the movie itself. Here we don't have a visual aid, and so the music has to do all of it. And I feel like the music is beautifully doing it all. Let's back up just a little bit and continue from the voice.
Well, a long time ago, came a man on a track, walking 30 miles with a sack on his back. And he put down his load where he thought it was the best, made a home in the wilderness.
It's an interesting line there, musically, melodically. It's more like he's telling a story. It's more narrative. I remember with Brothers in Arms, it was sung melodically. And now here, he's shifted to more of a storytelling, narrative voice, which of course suits because he's telling a story about someone, a traveler, and yeah, it's a story. So it fits perfectly. But I like the way that the music began so melodically, and I just stopped it. But the lyrical elements were picking up again instrumentally to carry us along this experience naturally and smoothly without it settling into just a recitation narrative.
On a track, walking 30 miles with a sack on his back. And he put down his load where he thought it was the best, made a home in the wilderness. Built a cabin and a winter store, and he plowed up the ground by the cold lake shore. The other travelers came walking down the track, and they never went further, no, they never went back. Then came the churches, then came the schools, then came the liars, then came the roads, then came the trains and the trucks with their load, and the dirty old tram. It was the Telegraph Road.
I just have to check out these lyrics for a minute because it's going along and I'm getting immersed in the music, but it's a story. So I missed a couple. And the dirty old track was the Telegraph Road. I couldn't quite make out what was being said in that line.
Then came the liars, then came the roads, then came the trains and the trucks with their load, and the dirty old tram. It was the Telegraph Road.
Now we're back into this. I love that guitar. There's a special little moment there where the voice of the guitar, and I hear myself using this word voice for the guitar again. The voice of the guitar flows seamlessly into the piano notes. Let's see if we can hear that there. Right there. And there the piano is. It's a seamless shift from one to the other.
Then came the mines, then came the ore, then there was a hard times, then there was a war. Telegraph sang a song about the world outside. Telegraph Road got so deep and so wide, like a rolling river.
And this is nice too. where he's telling about the sequence and the building of events, and there was hard times, there was a war. Telegraph Road got so deep and so wide, like a rolling river, and in that moment the music begins to roll more and carry us along, rather akin to a rolling river.
Then came the war, and there was a hard times, and there was a war. Telegraph sang a song about the world outside. Telegraph Road got so deep and so wide, like a rolling river.
Here's the rolling river. Here's this beautiful guitar coming in again. That's such a sweet melody there that the guitar is playing, and it has this sort of narrative storytelling quality in itself. At the same time, there's a lilt to it. There's a, maybe joyful isn't the word, but there is a sweetness and an innocence almost in the sound there, as it's riding the waves up and down of the pitches and the rhythms between the long bum 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 da 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 bum and the quicker notes followed by the longer notes. It gives it a very lilting quality.
And my radio says tonight it's gonna freeze. People driving home from the factories. 6 lanes of traffic, 3 lanes moving slow.
You notice how it slowed way down as it says 3 lanes moving slow, and everything slows down and slows down. And we're left not just musically in expectation and suspense, but it's also painting this picture of what the story is.
3 lanes moving slow.
Slow. Again, listen to the lyricism of the piano melody there. It's not just, I guess what I enjoy so much about the music I've heard with Dire Straits, which isn't, it's hardly any, but I love the melodic quality. Whether it's his voice or his guitar or now the piano. You could sing that line. Here comes the guitar. melody carries on. Interesting mix of sounds there. I feel like I'm hearing a very organ-like sound in the background. I don't know, it must be some synthesized mix of things, but it adds a sort of depth and expansiveness to what is being played here. Especially when everything else starts to slow down, then that background sound begins to come more into your awareness. You start to hear the background sound swell a bit more here.
I used to like to go to work, but they shut it down. I got a right to go to work, but there's no work here to be found. Yes, and they say.
Suddenly it became much more unsettled and disturbed sounding, mostly because of what the voice is doing. The way the voice is speaking out the rhythms of the words, but also what's happening in the percussion. And the bass gives a sort of ominous quality.
But they shut it down. I got a right to go to work, but there's no work here to be found. Yes, and they say we're gonna have to pay what's owed. We're gonna have to.
It's almost claustrophobic.
That's been sold. And the birds up on the wires and the telegraph poles, they can always fly away from this rain and this cold. You can hear them singing out the telegraph code all the way down the telegraph road.
Now back to this beautiful guitar. You're waiting again.
Well, I'd sooner forget, but I remember those nights. Yeah, life was just a bet on a race between the lights. You had your head on my shoulder, you had your hand in my
Nice
hair.
piano. That would be fun to play.
Cold, like you don't seem to care. But just believe in me, baby, and I'll
Did you hear? Okay, when I commented on that piano. Da-da-da-da-da-dum. And now, as it's shifting into this next bit, the drums are kind of echoing what the piano was just doing. Only now, of course, it's stronger. It's undergirding instead of being up at the top. Let's back up and listen to that.
remember those nights. Yeah, life was just a bet on a race between the lights. You had your head on my shoulder, you had your hand in my hair.
Listen to the percussion coming in.
Cold, like you don't seem to care. But just believe in me,
Right there.
and I'll take you away from out of this darkness and into the day. From these rivers of headlights, these rivers of rain, from the anger that lives on the streets with these names. 'Cause I run every red light on memory lane. I see desperation explode into flames, and I don't wanna see it again. From all of these signs saying sorry, but we're closed. Telegraph Road.
Very contemplative here. As if we're looking back in time. This is interesting. I changed a bit there. I guess it was the bass that's doing it. Bass repeated note. Now it's lower. Gives it a traveling feeling. Notice there isn't any really singable melody here. It's more textural, emotion. Building rhythmically, texturally, different layers of sound. Now the guitar is trying to sing a bit. Everything else is still so active around it. Now the piano. You hear the piano in the background. Bum ba da dum bum bum da 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 dum bum. It's mostly traveling. And it's getting more present in our consciousness. I feel like we're traveling down Telegraph Road now, and we're traveling more and more into the modern world, this point at which the story ended. And behind all these instruments, I hear a sort of it's a sound that is built into the music, which kind of sounds like passing traffic, passing cars. Not the engines, but you know, the air, the wind that the tire sound that a vehicle passing on the highway sounds like. And if you listen through here, it's almost as if I'm hearing these vehicles traveling. Right here. I guess it must be some of the guitar sounds. That was fun, though. And it fades out unfinished, as if the road goes on forever and ever, and we're just traveling and traveling. That was enjoyable. Now, as I'm comparing it to Brothers in Arms and the sound that I'm beginning to identify as the Dire Straits sound, of course I understand 2 songs is a pretty slim amount of material to really settle and identify and say, that is representative, that is the Dire Straits sound. Yet at the same time, I understand these are 2 pretty iconic songs from the band. And I do hear much of the same in both of them as far as the ability to communicate and portray a story, to tell a story, to create a picture, to paint a picture of the story in our imagination. And the beautiful tone quality of the instrumentation, the guitar, the voice. And here I'm noticing more than just guitar and voice. In Brothers in Arms, those were the 2 main features that really were elevated equally. Now here, we hear voice, we hear guitar, we hear piano. And there was that synthesized whistle at the beginning, which was also very beautifully, melodically presented. And all of those things are elements that are very musically satisfying and very, they draw us in. They help us to connect, because if something is melodic, it's memorable. If we can sing it, then we remember it. And that is one of the appeals to music like this. And I suppose as the fact that it's a almost 14-minute long song, and as I read at the beginning, that it was really pushing the limits of the attention span of most listeners of the time, that is one of the things that makes it pull you along, is the fact that you can recognize melody and you can sing with it and you can experience that continuous flow that draws you along, even in a longer piece of music, a longer work. And the lyrics also, they tell a story that is very relatable, especially to the American consciousness, because we have this history built into us that we are aware of, and it feels much closer than, we could say, more parts of the world where civilization has existed in this kind of development for much longer. But here we have the story of the growth of America. And that is a very relatable, appealing story for Americans, at least. I am going to dig into more of this in the in-depth, so keep your eyes out for that part 2 of this listening series. And when it comes out, you'll see it if you like and subscribe and put your notifications on. And I don't know exactly when this video is going to come out, but if it comes out before August, please push the subscribe button if you want to give me a little boost, because I would love to have 100,000 subscribers to celebrate on the first year anniversary of this channel, and that would be loads of fun to do it all together. Now, before I wrap up, we have a question of the day, and that comes from Danny D714, and he is commenting on my Allman Brothers first listen of the whipping post. And at 11:35 in the video, well, you can check it out. The link is here if you're interested. He says, very interesting seeing you use the harp for percussion, much like an acoustic guitarist will knock on the body of the guitar during a song. Is that something you use in classical music as well? Yes, it is. And in fact, on the harp, we have multiple different types of sound we can produce percussively, depending on where we tap, whether it's down here, up here, on the side, or we can use our knuckles, or we can even use a hand slap. And, okay, most of that type of playing in classical music developed in the 20th century. So you don't see Mozart using that on the harp. Well, Mozart only wrote one well-known piece for the harp. It is something we do use, as well as some other fun sound effects to expand our tone palette that we have to work with, textures and colors and sounds that we can use to create the music we want. So yes, we do, and I would love to play a piece for you sometime in which we use some of those sound effects. So at some point, you might see something show up on the channel. Classical, just for fun, from the harp. I'll see you all next time.